see the same people every other day, but we never say hey, 'cause we're never looking the way, or my face was in my notebook. We passed each other, didn't look. But these are the people of the towns, of the towns, the towns, of the towns. And large cities are just a bunch of big small towns, big small towns, overlapping side by side, big small towns. I see new people every day. Everyone's on their way, doing the things that fill their day. And I'm going places too, doing the things that I do with my time. We are the people of the towns, of the towns, the towns, of the towns. And large cities are just a bunch of big small towns, big small towns, diagonal, top to bottom, big small towns. Be nice to the people of the towns. Once in a while, look around, 'cause what's going around's coming around. What came around's coming around. What's going around's coming around. Big, 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 small towns. Word gets around in the big small towns. Big, 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 small towns. Word gets around in the big small towns. Big, 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 small towns. Word gets around in the big small towns.
Yeah.
Can you hear me, Media Wench?
Yeah. Pro streamer. Every
Good evening,
time.
everyone.
Hey.
Hey.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Downballot, and you'll notice that it is being hosted by an alternate co-host. I'm the Media Wench, and I'm here all the time unless I'm not. And we do the show every Tuesday, 7:30, and beyond into public comment. And with me is my illustrious, also regular co-host.
And not all that special, honestly, but this is the Council Man. You can find me on X at @THE_councilman. You can also find me in the club. You can find me in the public comments sometimes. And you can find me up in public service. So that's what brings me here. It's great to see you, Media Wench. I'm really excited to be rocking it with you tonight, rocking the docket. How are you feeling?
I'm great. I'm not worried about this show. It's tomorrow night that I'm trepidatious about, but also I'm picking the content, so whatever punishment is self-inflicted.
Is that the intellectual Dollar Tree tomorrow night?
Oh yeah. That's the least favorite.
my brain function has not completely left me. I do remember some of the schedule, but I'm an intermittent flyer here on, I wouldn't say frequent flyer, but an intermittent flyer here on Echoplex Media. This is a show that spun off from the original Sunday Plex show because, as you'll recall, Media Wench, the good wife and I would come on and we would try to do one little local news hit at the beginning of the show, right? To sort of lead into all of the derp, just to remind everyone that all derp is local.
Right.
And that just spawned, that spun into, 15 minutes of dialogue, and then 20, and then 30, and multiple clips. And suddenly we're like, we should probably have a separate show for all the local yokels who want to tune in and learn more about what's going on here in the Bay Area, but also if you want to learn more about what local politics is like in a sort of from a local news angle. That's what we created Downballot for. And then public comment, I think, is a fantastic partner and pairing, if you will. If you're a wine enthusiast, it is the Pinot Noir to your filet mignon. And you can tell me which one's the filet mignon and which one's the Pinot. Either that's your public comment. But I do advise you to tune in and stay tuned in. And I definitely need to do more of tuning in and participating in public comment, because I think it's just a fantastic counterpoint to Downballot. So thank you for hosting tonight and for taking on the reins this week.
Oh, of course. It's super fun whenever, for me, whenever public comment consists of Shasta County. But we've been lucky these last couple of months because there's been a lot of night meetings, and the night meetings are they're hilarious, but they're always on a Thursday. Okay, so let's go on ahead here. As producers say, we're getting in the weeds, and let's do some docket. So the first story on here.
Yeah, leading off the stories for tonight. It's something that we covered a bit last week, and we've been tracking on this show, and it's now making national news. So I imagine it might even come up on the Sunday show at some point, or one of the other shows. But the long and short of it is that there is a transgender athlete playing on the San Jose State women's volleyball team, and she has been outed by some of her teammates, coaches, and other schools, and players and coaches from other schools who have filed lawsuits and done everything they could, and forfeited matches even against San Jose State to avoid playing against this person and her teammates. And this includes her own teammates who joined the lawsuit and have tried to prevent her from playing the sport that she's completely allowed to play, and that the rules say that she is allowed to play. So this is an interview that looks like a local Fox affiliate did with the captain of the San Jose State team who joined this lawsuit to try to prevent her own teammate from competing.
People out here like it ain't 2024 and shit.
Yeah, you're more likely, if you haven't followed this media, you're not going to like this person very much.
Oh, okay. I'm shocked.
It's been a season filled with controversy for the San Jose State University women's volleyball program over a transgender teammate. The issue has garnered national attention.
Just last week, a class action lawsuit was filed against the university and the NCAA, calling for transgender women to be banned from college sports.
A team captain who joined the lawsuit and the only one to speak publicly about the issue, Brooke Slusser, agreed to sit down with KTVU's Bailey O'Carroll to discuss her position.
I feel like there's so many emotions that go into all of it, like anger, sadness, like regret, just like of all schools for me to end up at, why this one?
Brooke Slusser, a co-captain on the San Jose State women's volleyball team, is in her senior year, and she's getting more attention for what she's doing off the court than her performance on it, but she says she wouldn't change that. The Spartans' season has been overshadowed by controversy surrounding a transgender teammate who Slusser says she once lived with and called a friend.
I think all of me and my roommates were pretty good friends the whole time.
But Slusser says the two have never had a conversation about her teammate being transgender. Instead, she referred to it as the elephant in the room and says the university told her and other teammates not to bring it up.
I just don't think it's right in women's sports. It has nothing to do with the way someone wants to live their life day to day. That's not an issue. I think live the way you want to live. But just when it comes to the fairness and safety of women playing, there's a reason that there's two different divisions for men and women.
In a class action lawsuit filed last week,
well, I'm sure that's rooted in sexism too.
Have been jeopardized by sharing a court with her transgender teammate. When asked about how and why she felt unsafe, Slusser said,
"The height that the person can jump is so much higher, and honestly higher for a man. It's
maybe they're just a good jumper.
And then the strength behind the ball when they're swinging is also just so much more powerful.
But her transgender team
That's actually not true.
don't appear to give the Spartans a dramatic upper hand. The San Jose State women's volleyball team is ranked 119th nationally, but nonetheless, Slusser claims safety is one of her top concerns.
There's many times for multiple people all the time that we're having to try and dodge the balls that are coming straight at our face, and I've been hit multiple times by the balls, and I've had bruising on my legs just from trying to dodge it.
Many jokes, many.
Oh my God, so many
jokes that I won't make out of respect.
Is it Clueless, the movie, that film, right? Where I'm not supposed to do anything. She tells the PE teacher, I'm not supposed to engage in any activities where balls fly at my face.
There goes your social life.
Stacey Dash comes with, there goes your social life, honey. That's all I could think when I first saw this. That's all I could think.
Be better at fucking volleyball if you can.
And the sad thing is, she's this girl's actually pretty good. This Brooke, this captain, she's a great setter. Apparently, she's got she probably maybe had or maybe still has a great future ahead of her in the sport. And the other player, the player in question, is a very decent player too. And it's just weird that this would break out among teammates too, especially, right? You would think that the solidarity alone also, but like, they're on your team, so if you think that these are unfair advantages, maybe you should just shut the fuck up. Well, I want to get back to hearing Brooks talk, but at the same time, I also want to point out, like, this actually benefits in a way the program, because they've actually kind of coasted to a really good record, because a lot of teams have forfeited their matches with them because they refused to play them. So they got through to the final of their conference tournament for the same reason, even though they're not like world beaters. They're not bad. They're just not, they're middle of the road as a team. But they're going to have a better record and rank at the end of the year simply because teams are refusing to play them, and they're getting W's for it.
And that's the other team's fucking fuckery, stupid bullshit.
And it robs all these players of the chance to compete. Like at the end of the day, like, it's college volleyball. There are professional leagues in like Europe, but it's not as though there's like tons of jobs out there for, professional volleyball players. So this is like, they do this for the passion and for the sport and the competition. And it's just sad that, they're robbing not just this the player, I keep going to say the player in question because I don't want to out this person either. They're obviously robbing them of the chance to compete, but also robbing all their teammates and other teammates who God knows what their background is and what their origin story is, and who they want to be and who they are. And to hear this girl say, well, whatever you want to do in your day-to-day life, I have no problem with that. It's like, well, if she wants to play volleyball, that's what she wants to do in her day-to-day life, is play volleyball. Yeah. So you're saying she can't do that, but you just said she should and could do that, and you have no problem with it. So I don't get it. Yeah. And the stats don't bear it out too. Her hits or her spikes, or what do they call? I forget what they're called. They're no harder than any other, the best women athletes. They're even better than some men, but they're no better than the best women athletes.
Touches my thigh, and I've had a bruise on my thigh for weeks.
Bumps, bruises, and minor injuries are common in Division I volleyball, as is practicing against men. But when pressed, Slusser said she's never been injured to the point of coming off the court. In total, there are approximately 500,000 female athletes in the NCAA. Trans female athletes account for less than 50.
This is an important conversation for us to have.
Sid Ziegler, a co-founder of Outsports.com, an LGBTQ-focused publication, says it's a discussion that needs to be had.
I've been running Outsports for 25 years. I've written about trans athletes over 2 decades before anyone was talking about it. For me, it's important for every athlete to have a path to inclusion.
He added that in this particular case, the issue should not be with the San Jose State volleyball player, rather the governing bodies.
This athlete is not the problem. If you have an issue with this athlete competing, your issue is with the NCAA and USA Volleyball. Bring it up with them.
No, I don't agree with that either. If you have an issue with this person playing volleyball, then you need to fucking check yourself.
Yeah, I mean, fundamentally, absolutely. But at the end of the day, he is right. Like the the NCAA has actually backed them up and backed everyone up and said, look, there's nothing, our regulations are very clear that they're allowed to play. That's it, period.
Member of the San Jose State women's volleyball team to speak out, Slusser has become the face of the controversy. This season, 6 teams have chosen to forfeit matches against the Spartans.
I think the biggest issue is, one, it's not safe, like with what we've talked about. It's just no woman's ever going to have that strength and power that they have. And 2, they're taking opportunities and scholarships and medals away from women that have worked their entire lives for it.
KTVU reached out to San Jose State University. They said they're unable to comment due to student privacy laws. In San Jose, I'm Bailey O'Carroll, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Very demure, very mindful.
Yeah, that's very, very true for the school too. They do have, unlike these players and their attorneys and everyone else, they have an obligation to protect the privacy of this athlete, even though her fellow athlete already outed her anyway by doing this. It's sad state of affairs, as they say. Recently, the lawsuit was heard. It was an urgent, like some sort of urgency factor, right? So it got heard very quickly, and the judge overruled their suit or denied their claim, so the athlete can continue to play and compete until they'll file probably an appeal with a higher court. I'm guessing that the attorneys behind this, now that it's hit national attention, right, they're going to want to take it all the way to the Supremes if they can find the money to do it. So you can expect this probably to end up in the Supreme Court at some point, and that would be it could be the focal point case, right, that determines trans rights for the foreseeable future. And that's it's a frightening thought, because we all know what the makeup of the court is right now.
Yeah, first thought in my brain is, it's going to end up with some fucking Trump appointed fucking judge.
Yeah, we have a 6-3 fundamentally. If it comes down to, like, you have to be on one side of this line, right? About a 6-3 minority we're in right now in the Supreme Court. So to be honest, the guy is president again. They have the Senate, they have the House. I really don't care. It's all done. Like the court is going to fuck us for decades to come, right? So we can win as many elections as we want, but we're still having to compete with that, and that's a pain in the ass. So anyway, we'll keep covering this story. We will track it all the way up, because it's absolutely local, and it's frustrating that's happening here. This is something you would think would be like, northeastern Alabama state, right? But no, it's San Jose State. It's the oldest California State University. So, or second oldest, sorry.
Yeah. All right. So now we're on to Down Ballot Watch. Whoop. Whoop. Next one we have is San Mateo County supervisors want voters to let them fire the sheriff. This sounds like some Shasta shit, but it's not.
Have you been tracking this one at all? Have you followed Down Ballot? We did it. I think we got into it last week and a bit before, but long and short, there were some allegations about the sheriff, this fairly new sheriff, Christine Corpus, who was elected, I believe, 2 years ago, like 2022. There have been allegations that she'd been running sort of homophobic, retaliatory, hateful, spiteful kind of administration within the sheriff's office.
Oh, that tracks for cops.
It does, right? And it certainly tracks for, like, the new sheriff in town, right? Especially a woman, especially a woman of color. First time ever, I think, either of those things in this role in San Mateo County. Mm-hmm. So that always has growing pains, to be sure, right? And anyone new, when it comes down to it, is often met with skepticism, and the people who were on the right, and nowadays the folks who were on the opposite end, right, are going to come after you from day one. So that may be the case. It also could be that the report that was 400 pages long that was delivered to the Board of Supervisors detailing all of this by a retired judge is true. And if it is, then the sheriff should resign. But basically, this 400-page report triggered numbers of calls for her to resign from the whole Board of Supervisors, from a number of community leaders and others, and her own captains, many people in her own department, the deputy sheriff's union, right? And she retaliated by having the deputy sheriff's union president arrested. She had been alleged to have had an affair, or not an affair, but a sexual relationship with her chief of staff, a non-sworn officer, but still her chief of staff. So a little bit spicy. So when she was accused of that, they were threatening to fire him from his position. She moved him into some sort of sworn position that they can't fire him from. Very interesting, right? And appeared. We have to get the public comment to this sometime, but appeared at this Board of Supervisors meeting unannounced and spoke for many, many minutes about how there was a witch hunt, and they're attacking her. They're attacking her because she's a woman of color and she's strong Latina, and therefore they're all coming after her with this and it's all BS, and it's all everything she did was on the up and up, and she's not going to resign, basically. So. That's the context, and she's refused to resign. She is, the voters put her in office, and she says the voters can take me out. So instead of a recall, which is what you would normally see, right? The citizens would rise up and say recall, right? Especially nowadays. We've already seen it with the DA in Alameda and Sheng Tao in Oakland, right? The mayor of Oakland. Right. Instead of that, the board decided to ask in a very weird way, take a vote to the voters that would create an ordinance basically that would allow them to fire the sheriff and appoint someone else. And this new law would sunset after this is all done with this one instance. So it's sort of like they're asking the voters because they can't have they don't want to give themselves this power, to
be able to fire the sheriff kind of at will thing. Right. Because that just creates a whole mess, right? Yeah.
But at the same time, to me, it's still kind of the same thing because you're recognizing this is an extraordinary circumstance. But there are other avenues to getting it done. They're lazy. They don't want to do that thing. So they're doing it this way. So they don't have to go gather signatures for a recall. And this is the sort of update on that situation and what the process is going to be for determining that. So that's the backstory for you and for listener and for viewer.
All right.
And then we can hear from the local news.
Out of San Mateo County, where today county leaders discussed how to remove the embattled sheriff from her job. ABC 7 News reporter Zach Fuentes was at the meeting today. He is live with the details of the unanimous decision. Zach.
Yeah, and that unanimous decision means that voters will be able to decide on whether or not the board can remove Sheriff Christina Corpus from her job. The board introduced that ordinance today, and that means the decision will eventually be brought to voters in March. Now, we spoke with officials about that decision today, and also people who support Sheriff Corpus.
Our sheriff was elected by the people, and the people will make the ultimate decision here.
Emotions ran high from both the public and officials at Tuesday's Board of Supervisors meeting. All of the comments leading to the board's unanimous decision to introduce an ordinance that would send a ballot measure to voters.
To go ahead and put a charter amendment in front of the voters of San Mateo County to go ahead and ask them if they'll give the board authority to remove a sheriff under specific circumstances as delineated in the charter.
All of this coming after an independent audit found the sheriff had an inappropriate relationship with an employee and created a culture of intimidation and retaliation within her department. Allegations the sheriff says are not true. We reached out to the sheriff's office for comment and did not hear back. In an exclusive interview with Dan Noyes Monday, she had this to say.
I have done nothing wrong. This is an attack. It's a coup that has been in place for a while by the county executives and the Board of Supervisors.
Several people in public comment spoke in the sheriff's favor, including Redwood City native Brian Howell, who said he believes details in the report still need to be verified.
Who knows what's real, what's not real, and I just know Sheriff Christina as a person, and she is a good person.
Several in public comments said that the report initially did not take in interviews from people who would have supported Corpus. Supervisor Ray Mueller said it was an independent human resources report that investigated allegations from those who complained. He said that people who want to come forward to speak can, but that it doesn't undo the allegations and evidence found against Corpus.
It's kind of like saying we have someone who's presenting evidence of wrongdoing and someone else is upset because they weren't able to provide a reference check that she's a nice person. It still doesn't undo the wrongdoing.
Mueller said one person who did not speak under sworn deposition was Corpus herself, something he's still asking her to do.
We want her to come in under penalty of perjury, respond to the allegations, and be held accountable to the words which she responds to them.
Now, this charter amendment that the voters would approve would sunset in 2028. So in other words, it's focused on this sheriff, having the power to remove this sheriff. The board introduced it today. In 2 weeks, they will officially adopt it. Now, as our piece was airing, I just got a statement from the sheriff's office. I'm going to read some of it to you. It says in part, today's vote by the Board of Supervisors was wrong-headed and anti-democratic. It is a mean-spirited political scheme. The charter amendment with sunset language that only applies to me is an effort to go around the voters to try to unseat me. I will fight it tooth and nail. I'm not going anywhere. That is the statement from Sheriff Christina Corpus, a part of it that we just got right now. Right now, live in San Mateo, Zach Fuentes, ABC 7 News.
Thank you, Zach Fuentes.
Thank you, Zach. Handsome young man. So that's where it stands right now. We shall see if and when this special election materializes. It's going to be I'm sure, bang up turnout election of probably like 2% sometime in the middle of like April. Speaking of which, it's not going to be the only election that's happening around that time. Special election. It's just going to be the only special election happening way up there in San Mateo County, while down here in San Jose, we're going to be having a special election in the downtown district to replace disgraced former council member now, right? Yes, he's finally resigned. Omar Torres, who Media Wench, I don't know if you're familiar with this one, but lovely story. We'll learn a little bit more about him in this hit, but this is just today, the council is going to be considering, and I think they're even considering right now, timing for a special election to replace Mr. Torres, and we'll learn more about why they're having to replace him from this media hit from, I believe, KTVU.
Ooh, all right.
San Jose, the city council is now taking steps to fill the District 3 seat left vacant with the resignation of Omar Torres last week. Now, Torres is embroiled in a child sex abuse case that has him jailed on charges that he raped a relative when that victim was just 13 years old. Our South Bay reporter Jesse Gary has been following the latest in this story and joins me now live tonight in San Jose. Jesse.
Heather, good evening to you. Council members had been debating between two possible options. In the end, they decided to split the difference and take the best of both worlds, but not before some very spirited debate inside council chambers.
You're going to do what I'm telling you to do.
Please cut his mic. Debate and public comments clashing Tuesday as San Jose's city council decides how to fill an open council seat. This passionate exchange produced by opposing views on the path forward.
We need somebody in that seat now.
I know this is a difficult decision, and I think it's more difficult because you care, and I understand how important that care is.
The former District 3 rep Omar Torres sits in the Santa Clara County main jail. Torres resigned 2 weeks ago and then was arrested and charged with raping a relative when the victim was 13 years old. Since then, this body has grappled with how to fill his seat.
One option is a special election. That takes about 8 or 9 months. Another option is an appointment for the remainder of the term.
Mayor Matt Mahan favors a special election for a district that encompasses downtown, Japantown, the Hensley district, and others. However, that would be time-consuming, 6 to 8 months from now, and costly, upwards of $3.3 million.
Yikes.
Do voters actually want to return to the ballot? Do they actually want to review candidate materials, get mailers, go?
At this point, fuck no.
Yeah.
Fuck no.
I have some thoughts, but we can talk about it after Corey Cook has his say.
Through another election process right after what was a pretty divisive and certainly extraordinarily expensive national presidential election.
Many residents of District 3 say they want their collective voices heard.
There's a lot of different things going on that need to be addressed.
Irene Smith ran against Torres 2 years ago and plans to run again.
If any district deserved an election, it would be D3 right now in this moment. We've been through a lot. We want somebody who actually has the interests of the people, that put their interests first, who's willing to work relentlessly for those community interests and to implement the will of the people.
Wouldn't that be nice?
District 9 Council Member Pam Foley put forward the motion to have a special interim appointment and then a special election next year. That the council passed 8-2. Council members Cohen and Jimenez voted against. They wanted the appointment, Jimenez in particular, talking about the $3.3 million this is going to cost and all the different things that the city could use to fund different programs, as opposed to holding a special election for just one district. Council members say they're going to come back in 2 weeks, so that's after the Thanksgiving holiday, to work out the details. We're live outside San Jose City Hall this evening. Jesse Gary, KTVU, Fox 2 News. Heather, back up to you in Oakland.
Yeah, we'll see how this process plays out. Thanks so much, Jesse. Appreciate it.
So there you go.
Love Heather Holmes. That color was not good on her.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just off, right? But generally speaking, KTVU has great styling. We're producer Dave and I are really big fans of LaMonica Peters, one of their reporters. She is just fabulous. Just everything matches her eyeshadow right down to her shoes. It's just fantastic.
The jacket was just too big.
Yeah, sometimes it's just they try. You know, they're trying something new and just didn't hit. But you know, we live, we learn.
Right. So,
So yeah, if you're feeling really good about the world after these last couple stories.
I mean, I'm fucking trapped in the Shasta dystopia. Everything is like comparative, but I think that the whole they should just appoint somebody. Like I think that I would say appoint that lady that ran, but she looks like Patty Plum, so that's probably not a good idea. But
yeah, she's a little scary if you talk to her in person, or maybe she's just as scary as she seems in the video. I don't know if she's scary. Just
I know the straight face for the news and then the insanity behind it. So I'm not but the voter apathy right now for a special election, even next year. That's some, like you said, a grand whopping 2% of people are going to show up for that. And who knows? 100%. You could vote in the neighbor's dog at that point. You could literally just put Bad Baby in that election and then they might get elected.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a few things here, right? Bad Baby. Just to be clear, Bad Baby is not a candidate. Okay. She doesn't even live in the district. Not that apparently that's a problem, because at least one candidate we know, I think literally just rented a place in the district yesterday after they declared a week ago that they're going to run. But yeah, Bad Baby is definitely not running. She's not of age anyway. She's only 2. She has thoughts. She has lots of thoughts. But I honestly do not think that graham crackers and pizza, constitute an adequate agenda and platform for leadership in this city. Although, thinking about it, the caliber of some of the council members, maybe she would be able to hold her own. I'd put her up against a lot of them.
I guess it would depend upon her opinion on pineapple on pizza, and then that's a real divisive.
That's true. Well, she's not a fan of much on pizza at all. In fact, she's more of a fan of eating the cheese,
just the cheese,
and then leaving just the cheese, and then leaving the bread. So she's a big fan of we're a big fan of New York style pizza, because that way you're not wasting a whole bunch of bread, right? It's just sort of the cheese is the thing on New York pizza, so that makes sense. Anyway, long story short, she's not running, but there are no less than I think 5, 6 rumored and or announced candidates. Announced meaning they tweeted about it and they have a hashtag. So and so for D3, right? A few things though. The money. It's not coming out of, community projects and parks activation and arts, thank God, and other areas like that. Like the council members
general fund budgetary.
It's coming. Well, yeah, it's general fund money, but they have they explained it during the meeting. Even this is the thing that this is one of those pet peeves I have where, council members or local officials try to puff up their chests and make it sound like they're defending this, that, and the other thing, when at the end of the day, they're just talking, because yes, the money's going to come out of a reserve fund that the city set up, a couple years ago during the pandemic, and they've been putting money into. And yeah, we're facing a deficit for next year, but that's where it's going to come from. And as the mayor, I rarely agree with Mayor Ed 209, as we call him. He's very much the tech bro mayor, Mayor Mahan. I rarely agree with him, but he did make probably one of the better points, which was there is no price you can put on democracy, no matter what the turnout is and what the end result is. And I do agree with him there. So they did decide to sort of split the difference. They're going to appoint someone very soon to fill the role for the next 9 months until we can have a primary election and then probably a runoff election, unless we're lucky. And that's all going to take at least 8 or 9 months, because of just the timing of how these things have to happen. So we'll have a primary election in April, runoff election in like late June. Yay. Right before the 4th of July. And then the new council member can take the seat in like August. So that's the plan right now. And then in the meantime, they're not going to appoint anyone who actively is running. So what they're going to do is wait until they're going to have a filing period for running for the seat. And then at the end of that really brief filing period, like in the next few weeks, beginning of January, then they will make the appointment once that's closed and you can't file to run anymore. So then they will know who the candidates are. And then they know the pool that they want to, they're going to want to appoint someone from, because they don't want to appoint someone who's going to run because they don't want to give them an unfair advantage, right? Now, the 2%, right? There was one of the my council member, Deb Davis, raised the point, well, and others have said, the media is here and the cameras are all here and they're covering this right now. And that means that, we're probably going to have better, because everyone's saying the turnout's going to be abysmal. And she and others were saying, well, no, the media is covering this and everyone knows what's going on. Everyone knows about why the seat is empty. So of course they're going to be very invested in, who replaces this person and restoring transparency and good governance to the District 3 office, like freaking Irene Smith said, right? Yeah, you're laughing right now. Exactly. They're going to forget. They're not even going to remember. By April, they're not even going to remember Omar Torres's name. No. They're not even going to remember that. Some people will, like the handful of us that follow this will, right? But the voters, they're not going to remember, and they're not going to give a shit. It's just going to be, like you said, another election, more shit in their mailbox. Oh, yeah. Talking about this person or that person, how great this person is, and how awful that other person is. And no one's going to be meaningfully engaging with anybody. It's just going to be a marathon sprint to see who can raise the most money and get the most mailers out and get that like 5% of the voters to come out and vote for them, right? So it's a district of 100,000 people, and like 10,000 people are going to determine who is their representative, right? And is that democracy? Not really, but at the same time, I'm not sitting here and saying it is. I think it's necessary to do the election. I'm not going to sit here and talk about, it's going to be high turnout. Everyone's going to be. I'm not going to have any sort of grand delusions about it, right? I'm just going to admit that yes, I do prefer elections. I like the idea of having representation in the seat now during the budget process, so this district can have someone other than their chief of staff and their staff, basically right now, which is what it is in the mayor's office running the office. I'm so glad that they'll have someone, a person. And I'm glad that they're having the election. It's just there is no good choice. There is absolutely no good path forward. This is probably the best of the stinky solutions.
So when are you moving to District 3?
Inquiring minds want to know.
That's right.
I've burned so many bridges. Anyone would tell you there's no way I should or can run for office again. No, that's perfect, because the ones that burn bridges are the ones that seemingly get elected. So right now is your best chance. Maybe I can take advantage of that. Like every bridge I've burned, there's got to be there's always a reciprocal, right? There's always someone on the other side, like the bridge behind you, that is still there.
Use that
right?
to your advantage.
So go to those people.
I burned bridges and I came right back.
Yeah, they probably hate the people that you burn the bridge with, right? So you go to the opposite side of the bridge and say like, hey, are you with me? Let's do this. And like, you hop in the boat like Washington and cross the Delaware. And yeah, well, I don't know. We'll see. I think that the age of the white man in office should end, honestly. I become much more aware of my own privilege and bias. And day after day, I become more aware. It's not so much like any one moment, right? George Floyd was killed and suddenly I got woke. No, it's like every day I'm conscious and more conscious of my biases. And I don't know that I can adequately lead a city that's this diverse with the perspective I have and the lived experience I have. I would hope that others, and I'm hoping to find other people who have that lived experience, who have the passion and the drive and the ability to be great leaders. Some of these council members have surprised me, to be honest with you. And I think there is potential here, but we need to do a better job of building that pipeline. So it's not like, hey, councilman, you can move to District 3. No.
They say burn bridges. I say witch hunt.
Right. And then I get in office and that's exactly what happens, right? People turn against me like, oh, he voted for to do a sanctioned encampment in our district. Let's vilify him and take him out because he's bringing these awful homeless villains to our community. So
you say, bring
it's
it,
not for
bitches.
me anymore. Right? Not for me anymore. I like being an advocate. I like doing this. I like having the freedom to, if I was elected to anything, this show would, I would CC be on this show. The show would continue, I think, but just because of momentum at this point, we are the 9th best local news podcast in California, according to some dude on the internet.
Yeah.
I would not be able to get the joy out of this that I do if I was in any sort of public office. I'm so worried about the good wife. I don't want to ruin any of her aspirations. So I try to be careful about who I talk about.
Okay.
All right.
Next story.
Well, we're going to wrap up the down ballot by talking about a special session that was called by the governor of California, not Arnold, but Gavin Newsom. King Newsom, 2028. King Newsom, French Laundry Newsom. He wants to Trump-proof California. So we're going to find out more about what can possibly be done to do that, other than just sort of like heads, stand, 4 years, come back out. Here's a local news hit about that.
I do have one thing to say. If there's like the place where you're least likely to catch COVID, it's at the French Laundry.
Probably they take it's the laundry, right? It's clean.
It's clean.
Right? The food's clean there. That's all I can imagine. And they're French, so they definitely like to they don't like our smarmy American mitts on their stuff. Actually, they're probably not French, are they? They're Napa. They're Napa people.
They're Napa French.
In Sacramento last election, they still
this guy's from Napa.
Majority. The question is, how loyal will they be to Governor Newsom? Surprised and dismayed by a large voter shift to the right nationally, state Democrats are looking to resist Trump policies just as they did when Jerry Brown was governor during the first Trump administration.
That's going to be legislation. It's going to be litigation. It's going to be lack of cooperation.
Under Jerry Brown then, the legislature enacted legislation to protect state environmental laws and resist stepped-up Trump immigration enforcement efforts. This time around, the lawmaking will concentrate on civil rights of all kinds, natural resources, the environment, and withholding of federal money, as well as reproductive rights. The court fights will be varied and many.
When it comes to the states versus the federal government, a lot of times, if there's a true conflict, the federal government will win. Again, assuming that the federal government does something legal and valid.
Also under Jerry Brown, California sued the Trump administration some 120 times over policy disputes at a cost of $42 million in legal fees, winning the lion's share of those suits.
We will stop him from overreaching, doing things that are unlawful, unconstitutional, and sue him in court and stop him when he does.
This time around, the California Attorney General himself, a former state legislator, has been given $25 million, a down payment to his office for the court fights sure to come.
We will sue him, and we will do it immediately. We will seek restraining orders. We will seek injunctions. We will use the full force of the law and authority of the office to stop him from doing unlawful things.
Do it.
As to the thornier goal of making California more affordable, 4 glaring issues: the cost of housing, insurance, electricity, and gasoline loom. Former State Senate Pro Tem Don Parada told me that it's better to hear what the voters said last election and act on giving them what they want rather than fight Trump at every turn and then take back Congress.
Typically speaking, the party in power tends to lose some power in the midterm elections.
And that is particularly true, says Levinson, when the party in power has the presidency, the Senate, and the House of Representatives, as Mr. Trump does. But it may not last for more than 700 or so days. Reporting live, Tom Bakar, KTV, Fox 2 News.
Yeah, the special legislative session just kicking off. We'll be sure to follow what happens in the days to come. Tom Bakar, appreciate it. We'll protect.
Isn't it amazing how things shift and how our perceptions of things shift? In that, Barack Obama had the same majority, the same blanket, tricameral, whatever you want to call it, authority. And in fact, in the Senate, we had 59 votes in the Senate. 59 votes. We were one away from that 60 vote threshold you needed for what they call cloture, which is basically to overcome a filibuster and actually get a bill considered on the floor of the Senate. The Senate is so fucking arcane.
That's the waffle stomp clause.
Right. That's the one thing they don't tell you about, right? Like the final vote. Yeah. When you finally get a floor vote, you need 51 votes, right? Or 50 plus one, as they say. So if it's a tie, then the vice president breaks the tie, right? In the 100 vote Senate. But you have to get to a vote. So you need 60 votes. So Barack Obama had 59. We even got to got a 60th vote. It took forever. It took 2 years almost to get Obamacare, right? And just for an up or down vote. And that was the biggest thing they were able to accomplish in 2 years. They had the same kind of majority for 2 years, and that's all they could get done because it's just such a heavy lift. Even with all that majority and all that power, you have to satisfy so many people. So good luck to Trump. I know that his folks are completely in line, lockstep, but there's plenty of Republicans out there that still have got us and still have their own ideas about things and aren't afraid of Donald Trump because they've proven that they're Trump proof. So the Susan Collins of the world and the Lisa Murkowskis are really going to have to step it up a notch and help because we can't slip any further down this trench. But luckily in California, we got money. Let's sue the motherfucker. Let's sue the motherfucker.
If you're going to sue somebody 120 times and it's only going to cost you about $45 million and you're going to win the majority of those things, it's a pretty good investment, I think. Yeah,
I mean, we got it's the Attorney General too. It's like our public servants doing the suing. So he's just paying good public servants with that money, right? This is all going to very good causes. It's not going to like pad his yacht, right? Or buy him a new one. Anyway, we'll see what comes from that. There shouldn't be any ballot measures that necessarily are needed. A lot of it's going to be done through executive authority and through the authority of the assembly. And you've got a really progressive and Democratic supermajority in the state assembly and the state Senate now. A lot more women have been elected, which is great. So I think you're going to see very, very strong leadership coming out of Sacramento from our side of the aisle, as they say, in the near future. But unfortunately, the state is a big old, there's a big old banana in the middle, right? And then there's everything else around that, right? And you're living right in the middle of the banana right now, unfortunately. But there are folks here in the Bay Area who subscribe to the banana philosophy.
Yeah, it's kind of fucked up because there's where I work, we employ a lot of people here who are here on a work visa. They're not necessarily from Mexico or from Canada. They're from Thailand, Laotian and stuff like that. And and that was like the weeks leading up to the election. I was like, fuck, man. Like, am I gonna have to worry about places like this getting raided again by the feds? Because even though there's clauses about people who work in the recreational cannabis industry, that states that have legalized cannabis, there's like some Fed or some Supreme Court case or whatever that the feds don't come in and raid those places. But that fucking matters anymore.
Of course not.
Right. And then all these people, these wonderful, hardworking ladies, I'm worried for them. I am legitimately worried for them. Some of them left before the election.
It's not surprising, right? The thing that broke my heart a lot that I've tried to let a lot of this shit, I try to process and try to maintain and keep everything in context, even because it's just such a flood the field, kind of approach with them, right? It's just everything all at once. And you have to try and figure out, okay, where do I defend human rights here or there? But the one thing that always killed me was I remember an interview with a migrant who was coming from Central America, and they were at the border, and they basically said, I believed in America as the place where, I could go to be safe and to have a chance, an opportunity, but I don't believe in that anymore. Basically is what she said in Spanish, but basically what she said was, I don't believe in that anymore. So I'm going home, or I'm not going, I can't go there anymore. I don't think it's for me anymore. And that just broke my heart. 'Cause I'm just like, that's kind of what we do here, right? that's what we're supposed to be doing here. Yeah. Obviously it was founded on a bunch of bullshit and white patriarchy, but the ideals are still there, right? We can still embrace those anytime we want. Someone wrote them. And so that really killed me. So this whole thing is just, it's so silly. And I'll say this, I also feel bad for the folks you work with and the folks you deal with and help. And I'm hopeful that in a way it's kind of sick hope, but that there will be a couple like show moments, right? Kind of like building like the bit of the wall, right? And saying, oh, look, I've built a part of the wall, even though it's whatever, an 1,800 mile border. And this is my quarter mile of the wall. There will be some showy moments where, there's ICE raids and you see on the news, like people being carted off, right. And separated from their families. Yeah. They will do this in a very, targeted way, get news hits about it. Right. And just replay those clips over and over and over and over and over and again to prove to their people like, hey, look, we're doing it. We're cleaning up the country, right. We're taking all these people out that are stealing your jobs and whatnot. But also to put the fear of God into all the people who are coming here, trying to come here legitimately, right? Right. And do exactly what they want, like stop them from coming, right? Well, they will turn around like that one lady and say, I don't want to go through that. Yeah. Right. So I think hopefully your people will be okay, and most people will be okay. The overwhelming majority of our undocumented workforce, which by the way is the lifeblood of our freaking economy, they're going to be okay, but they're not okay now because there's so much fear and uncertainty. Right. And I can't imagine what they're going through in terms of that, right? Like that are carrying that with them every day. Well, yeah, it's the cross. It's the cross of paths between the cruelty is the point, right? And then you, like you said, you have to make an example out of some people so that the people who are the people who don't have money, which is most of them, who follow this whole movement can point and say, look, he's doing the thing that he said he was going to, while out the back door, he's just taking sacks of money and dismantling the government. Right. And he sold not a majority, let's remind everyone, not a majority of black men, right? Not a majority of Latino men, right? But enough Latino men, enough black men, right? That they are the enemy. That whoever it is, no matter where they come from, even if it's their own like brethren, like Mexican, I've talked to Mexican Americans, Chicano Americans who like they resent Mexican immigrants who are coming over the border now, right? Because they've been here for so long and they've fought for what they have and they're proud of it, rightly so. But they resent their own like gente, right? Which but is it's so tragic. And they don't like. Do they not realize that the land that they're sitting on was stolen from Mexico? Right. It's all one big fuckery after another, right? So eventually we have to realize that stupid. Right. We eventually have to realize that it's all just fucked, and let's just stop. Right. And we're all peeps. We're all friends. We're all cousins at some level. Let's just figure this shit out because it's only going to get worse. Right. It's not going to get much easier to live on this planet if we keep fucking ourselves and fucking the planet. So let's just break it all down, take down the wall, tear down the wall. Tear down the wall. Right. So anyway, we're going to hear now that we move into our next segment of the show, winners and losers, where, as producer Dave would say, there are no winners except the people that you don't want to win, or something along those lines. We're going to hear from some local yokels here, not in Alabama, in Alameda, who were supporting Trump, and why they're doing it, and why some of us might say they're voting against their own interests, but we'll hear what their interests are and why they did it.
Political experts are still sorting through the takeaways from the 2024 election, but one thing is clear. Large parts of the country shifted toward the right. Good evening, I'm Ryan Yamamoto. The trend is even true right here in Blue, California. Republicans made major gains compared to 4 years ago. The Golden State is still a blue state, but when you compare the results of the presidential election between 2020 and 2024, you can see the counties that flipped from blue to red.
Which one's Shasta there? Is that like sort of heavy pink one in the middle?
Yeah. Parts of Alameda County.
So not quite red, but
some small business owners say they also made the change.
Salmon.
Salmon shift.
Salmon is definitely
better.
Dream, becoming the owner of Elliston Vineyards in the tiny town of Sunol. He added these curious ostriches as part of the attraction.
The mountain lions and the coyotes eats all the chicken, but they cannot touch the ostrich.
Because they fuck them up.
They grow up so fast.
He and partner Tammy Lee both supported Obama and voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016.
feel that this Democrat Party value really represented us.
At the beginning, I was kind of against the Trump.
Lee saved enough to open her first 7-Eleven store in Alameda County in 2011.
That's the American dream. You know, you got some small investment, get a few stores, you become your own entrepreneur.
It was a humble start to provide for her children. But after Prop 47 passed in 2014, which reclassified certain offenses from felonies to misdemeanors, including thefts under $950, their everyday lives at work began to crumble. Like many other small business owners, they saw a handful of petty thefts become exponentially more frequent and blatant.
It was a little puzzle why, and then later on when we figured out that's because of the law, then we feel this impact and we start feeling very angry.
They began to question if voting for incumbent Democrats was working for them.
It's gradual. It's not an overnight shift. Just you see the things that
with that hat. Come on now.
Do anything.
According to a breakdown of presidential voting data by Axios, Alameda County saw one of the largest shifts from blue to red in the Bay Area. Taking 2016 as the baseline, Alameda shifted just 1.5% in 2020, but this year it swung more than 11 points to red. Lonnie Chen is a Republican strategist and fellow at the Hoover Institution at Stanford University.
Given what's happening in the environment in California with public safety issues, with cost of living, with housing concerns, this does create a big warning sign for the Democratic Party and for Democrat politicians here in California.
While the economy is a driver in their shift to support Republicans and Trump, they say public safety played a huge role. Lee endured rampant reoccurring thefts for more than 5 years until low-level criminals started becoming violent.
He come over, just attack me.
Punched you?
Punching me on my neck here. You know, and I fell on the floor.
Soon after, in 2019,
maybe it was the MAGA one.
For her family's
it drove them crazy.
Both stores.
And they start questioning, okay, who allowed this to happen? Why this, Democrat Party?
Girl, that ain't it though.
That doesn't
right.
make sense at all.
Kamala Harris helped someone rob them.
Saying they support LGBTQ rights and equality for all, but believe a Trump administration will restore some of their core values of meritocracy and rule of law.
Oh yeah, because Trump's all about fucking merit. That's how he ended up where he is.
We have protect our business, protect peoples, and protect everything we have.
All these daily things affecting the daily life. I hope that we Trump's in the house that that can be restored.
They say they've decided to embrace the change, fully supporting the Trump administration, even bottling a MAGA wine vintage. The pair personifies a growing shift across California from blue to red.
And much like Hispanics, Asian American voters made that major shift to the right. Exit polls from the Washington Post show a 5-point swing from the GOP to the GOP from the 2020 to the 2024 presidential race.
Well, I love a good anecdotal. I love a good anecdotal story, right? With two people, one of them with a really amazing hat. I really want one of those with the
with Trump straw sticking out of the top of it.
Like the orange hair, like it's not even really Trumpish hair, right? It's more like an homage to his skin tone.
So listen, the fucking deal with this shit has nothing really to do. The law that got changed with the misdemeanor theft thing is a result of income inequality and a lack of resources and shit just being too fucking expensive for absolutely no goddamn reason. You cannot just put a problem in jail that is a symptom of a much larger piece of the machine that is broken.
Completely agree. Yeah. And we've been, of course, now we've seen the inevitable backlash, right? So Prop 36, which was on the ballot this year, rolled back a lot of those Prop 47 protections and reforms. So we're seeing a shift back this way. And these folks, as much as I make fun of his hat and their perspective, they are indicative. They are an example of public perception. And I think it's very important for not just Democrats, but just people who, oppose this kind of worldview, right? And want to see a more transparent, collaborative, leadership. It's important for all of us to recognize that that's the perspective that a lot of people share.
Yeah.
No, a lot of people
big,
voted with.
Yeah, it's big time in Shasta County too. But when they're like,
hell yeah,
oh, I just saw somebody steal a huge grocery cart full of stuff from Safeway. Bro, they're stealing food. Bro, they're stealing food.
Diapers.
What does that fucking say to you? Like, look beyond here and fucking widen your fucking scope. And what is the core fucking issue of somebody stealing a humongous grocery cart full of food? What is the core issue behind somebody going and fucking knocking out the windows at a Saks Fifth Avenue store in San Francisco and ripping off a bunch of shit? You think they're going to go wear that stuff? No, they're going to go fucking sell it and use the money to buy food, pay bills, and rent and shit. Like, there's a problem here. And you cannot just throw the problem in jail.
Nope. But and then these people have all we put them in jail and these liberals let them out, and now they do this again, right? Look what they've done. It's like, no, we're not creating a society that respects and honors all people. And if we focused more on that, maybe we wouldn't have so much crime as they talk about. And really, as producer Dave and I like to point out, crime really has not gone up in any sort of measurable way over the last 20 years, whether it's property crime or violent crime. Yes, there's spikes year to year. You can always point to something. Oh, violent crime is up this year from last year, right? But not from 1994.
Right.
So look at things in the long term, but people, it's local news and it's people, and we don't have short memories, like we talked about earlier with the election, right? We don't have time. Most of us to worry about these things on a regular basis and to have podcasts or video, vidcasts and streams where we discuss these things. Most of us don't have that kind of time. So that's why we're here to provide service to folks. But we also recognize that a lot of voters out there don't, they just don't have the time to get all this information. Yeah. And that's the real tragedy.
Yep. Speaking of a problem.
Yeah. So it's the holidays, so we're hearing more about folks who are unhoused and not getting, again, their shake out of the world we've created. And it always comes back to kids, it seems like, when we talk about who's getting screwed and who are the losers. So we're going to hear more about the unhoused student population in San Jose and how it's not going anywhere anytime soon, no matter what we do about it.
Families across the country are preparing for the Thanksgiving week break, but there's a growing number of teens who'll have no place to go. The Eastside Union's high school district in San Jose says its unhoused student population has ballooned to almost 1,000 kids. NBC Bay Area's Damon Trujillo joins us from outside of Independence High.
The numbers are staggering. The district is trying to make things a little better for those students, but they see no end in sight for this growing crisis. Their day begins with a walk to school after sleeping in a tent or in a shelter. At Independence High School alone, there are 100 students who self-identify as being unhoused. Most come to Miss Maggie's office for advice, supplies, or other help.
I'm sorry.
It's a feeling the parent community specialist finds hard to describe.
I think it's a tough question for me because I get to go home and I get to put my kids to bed and I get to feed my kids.
Yet her students, eager to learn in the classroom, struggle to survive outside of it.
The barriers are beyond what any of us can imagine. They're a nightmare, actually. And so to expect them to sit there and learn while they're hungry or where they feel insecure because they're wearing the same clothes for a week.
Eastside Union says the latest count is 950 unhoused students district-wide, but it's growing by about 50 every month. And that's not counting those who are too afraid or embarrassed to say they're unhoused. Yet they come to school, whether it's to learn or for the meals or simply to have Miss Maggie's ear.
There is that misconception that, you know, an unhoused person doesn't have a drive, or an unhoused person is dirty, an unhoused person doesn't know their ways. And I think that's a huge misconception because, as I said, they are the most resilient people I know.
So the district is holding a fundraiser hoping to generate money for holiday gift baskets, including a $75 gift card.
But the $75 gift card is more than just that. It's telling them someone sees them. They're seen, they're acknowledged, they're cared for.
And when they're out of school for an extended break, the students always have Miss Maggie's phone number because emergencies happen, because a need doesn't take a break. And Miss Maggie wants them to know someone is always looking out for them in East Side Union. Damian Trujillo, NBC Bay Area News.
Yeah, not much to say there, but go ahead. Sorry.
I was to say that's fucking rough, man.
Yeah, and it's not just that district. They do a good job of hyping it and letting people know about it because they raise money for those like gift cards and for those things they do for the kids. So it's good on them for doing that. But it's every district is feeling that no matter where they are, even the most affluent, quote unquote, areas. And it's not just living, you know, in a tent or in a shelter or wherever on the street. It's also doubling up, like families having to double up in apartments. You're couch surfing. You don't have a home, right? You just sort of somewhere every night. Mm-hmm. You know, maybe have a place that's sheltered. Yeah. So now they're trying to talk about the unhoused population and make it more specific. Like these are the kids who are living literally like out of a home situation, outdoors. So yeah, there's no easy solution to that. But it's something to remember in this conversation about like, should we build more affordable housing and should we spend this much money on, you know, programs to support people and keep them out? Yes, absolutely. Because if our kids aren't learning and they're not able to, like, we're robbing opportunity from like a whole generation of these kids because they're right. Those counselors are dead right. There's no way you can learn like calculus when you're like hungry. Right, when you haven't had breakfast.
See, this is when you need to like start figuring out the numbers of foreclosed on or unoccupied homes owned by banks that have been unoccupied for longer than, I don't know, 3-6 months, and then just start putting people in those because fuck you.
And eminent domain, right? Like we use it for all these other things. Where it's the public takes over a property for a public good, right? Well, there you go. I think that's a great idea. Let's do that. There's something like 15,000 uninhabited residential units of some sort in San Jose alone.
Well, there you go.
On any given day.
They can have one each.
Yeah. It's either the rent is too high or that they're just sitting on the property, like you said, and paying like really low Prop 13 taxes and just sitting on it waiting for someone to buy them out. Yeah. I get offers all the time. We get offers all the time for our house. It's nonstop. People just want to buy us out and make a little money, and they think we just want to make a little money. And no, this is like my family house.
No, fucking pry mine from my cold, dead fucking hands.
Right, we're here, yo. So anyway, so hopefully, I wish I had an extra room to give to one of these kids. Frankly, I might as well convert this room at some point, depending on how things go. But we'll talk about that later. Anyway, but yeah, I wish I could do more to support this, and everyone should, especially this time of year, but really all year. Not just around the holidays. It's a year-round problem. Mm-hmm. Summertime, wintertime, doesn't matter. So help, do something to help. Okay. Well, this seems like people just want to clear the homeless, our homeless brothers and sisters out of their neighborhoods. But in Foster City, they're more worried about the geese.
Nobody's safe.
No one is safe from the geese. So we're going to find out what they're trying to do to prevent this geese festation that they have in Foster City that's causing all sorts of malfeasance.
Don't fucking let Madison Star Moon that they're doing anything to the geese.
Well, we'll learn more.
Were the topic at hand at this Foster City Council meeting Monday night.
They're dangerous to our pets. They're dangerous to our kids.
They're coming for your wife.
For your children.
Your children. Foster City Vice Mayor Stacy Jimenez didn't hold back after listening to a presentation given by a wildlife consulting firm regarding a non-lethal Canada goose management plan to deal with the geese and the droppings they leave.
I would recommend that you move towards habitat modification as fast as possible.
That is the process of changing the look of these park areas so the geese don't feel comfortable here. Experts here say an example of that would be
put skateboard rails on the lake. What are you going to do?
This, so the geese can't see the water from the park area.
You need to take away both the land and the water as a safe space.
Just fucking pave the motherfucker. What are you going to do?
From the land to the water, and then when you leave, they come back to the land. You want the whole
Dan Biteman,
safe.
The process of hazing
wildlife expert.
He just wants to bite the geese. Loud noises, drones, or dogs to scare the geese elsewhere.
Tim's has biting fixation like Mike Tyson.
Ideas.
I really appreciate that you guys are letting the geese live.
Others are upset that the plan to kill 100 geese 2 years ago never happened due to complaints about it.
It seems to me the most prudent thing to do for the people of Foster City is to kill most of the geese.
The city council adopted the management plan Monday night and will begin testing methods. Those from the city say they will meet again in 2 months. At that time, they will vote on a full-scale plan and the funding needed for it. J.R. Stone, ABC 7 News.
But they're fucking birds. They'll just, there's more of them. They will,
Correct.
they will eventually replenish themselves.
He's like, we have to take away the land and the sea. And it's like, what else is there? There's land and water. That's it.
There was a song about that. He paved paradise and put up a parking lot.
Put a parking lot, yeah. There's no other type of land or place they can occupy. It's either land or water. Like that's pretty much Earth. So welcome to Earth. Anyway, but I'm curious to see it. Like I'm certainly not a fan of euthanizing hundreds of birds. That's just cruel. They're just chilling. Yeah. They're just coming to hang out and poop. They can't help where they poop.
They can't.
They've not been trained.
Dredge the lake and use it for fertilizer.
Right. The Bad Baby and I, or the Good Wife and I have been training Bad Baby to poop in a potty. And that's challenging enough. She has to walk around all weekend with no pants on. It's really sad. So I'm not going to worry about where the birds want to poop. But
it also makes you kind of jelly a little bit, doesn't it? Like, I want to walk around all weekend with no pants on.
Right. That would be, it did seem pretty relaxing, to be honest with you. Except when she wanted to be held, it was kind of awkward. Anyway, let the geese be the geese and let them chill. And, at least it's in Foster City, not in my city. Anyway, so a little lighthearted winter solution. That could have gone under any of the last three categories here in our docket of love. But anyway.
Get your shit together.
Right. It's a perfect get your shit together. We've actually had, I think the original story we had on Get Your Shit Together when they were talking about euthanizing the birds. But this week there were a couple contenders for Get Your Shit Together, and there was really no way around this one taking the cake. You just got to play it. I'm not even going to go into the backstory. Just play it.
Perfect. I love going in cold with this kind of stuff.
A deadly drug overdose in San Francisco's Tenderloin district is sadly not an unusual event. But what is unusual is that the city medical examiner misidentified the body, telling one family they'd lost a member who was still alive and not telling the dead man's family of their loss.
Oops.
Tonight, for the first time, we are hearing from siblings of the man who died, who just found out recently about the overdose.
This story begins at the Dahlia Hotel in San Francisco, where a man was found dead from an overdose in May of 2021.
Holy shit.
The San Francisco medical examiner identified this man, James Robinson, as the deceased. The Robinson family received ashes from the ME and even put the urn in an altar in their house. But earlier this year, a good friend saw Robinson walking in the Tenderloin, very much alive. So whose ashes were in the urn? DNA testing answered that question. Jacob Christinger. His family was notified just 2 weeks ago of the death that happened more than 3 years ago.
I've spent the last 3 years looking for him, hoping, searching, different halfway houses and rehabilitation programs and hospitals and jails. Every time I went to the Bay Area, I would drive to areas where I thought he might be.
Family members say Christinger was a drug addict with mental health challenges, and they wonder if that is why the medical examiner based his identification on statements from employees at the Dahlia Hotel rather than more scientific methods.
You shouldn't be misidentified because they failed to do a DNA test. They failed to have the family come down and identify him. They didn't look at the fact that my brother is only like 5'5" and that other guy is way taller.
Maybe he was just a drug addict to them, but to me, he was my brother.
A spokesperson for the medical examiner's office says, "We extend our sincere condolences to Jacob Krissinger's loved ones and family, and we are grateful for the Department of Justice for their assistance on the case." As for James Robinson,
thank you, Angela.
Tenderloin in May, he was tracked down in the same area by his daughter in July. But after an emotional reunion, he refused rehab and disappeared again. His friends say they've seen him since. His daughter has not.
We kind of know the idea of where he hangs out, so we've been just every few weekends or every other weekend or so, we'll go out and we'll search for a few hours and just in hopes to find him.
It may seem the families involved are entitled to some kind of compensation for their trauma, but legal analyst Stephen Clark says that will not be easy to prove.
This will be a tricky case for the plaintiffs because there are a lot of governmental immunities that would come into play here. But at the same time, you have to appreciate what these families went through.
Jacob Krissinger's family says it's not just about money. It's about changing protocol so that others don't have to be traumatized as they've been.
Also, get your money.
Yeah, get your shit together, get your money. That's ridiculous, right? Like that's something out of a TV show, right? Plot line, right? I can't imagine that happening in reality. I mean, it does happen, right? Babies get mixed up. People get mixed up.
It's a madcap misadventure when two bodies are swapped. The wrong family gets the wrong urn. Oh my!
How will it be resolved? Find out next week on Downballot. I hate God. There's only one way to respond to that, and that's to try and make some sort of levity out of it, because otherwise it's just like it's so tragic. But as you can see, that was the absolute winner in the clubhouse for get your shit together. And even then, we're gonna take a trip down another thing. This is usually where we just drop in a friendly animal interest story, and or we'll get to vehicle versus structure in a second. But we had a couple stories that fit the bill this week. And again, this one could have fit well under get your shit together, but because it's from the UK and it's local to not us, I figured another thing would be the spot for it. So we're going to learn about a piece of very unflattering looking art. The Brits are amazing people, but let's learn more.
Well, in the UK, an artist is now having to defend their creation for its misunderstood look.
There's some outrage over a sculpture that looks like an unsavory texting emoji. Take a look. You can guess which emoji.
There it is.
Yeah. I mean, I'll just say it looks like the poop emoji, right?
Right.
I'll just
with
say
a heart in it, though.
Yes, with love.
The structure is built out of willow branches and sits on a nature reserve near the English Channel, where it will stay for the next 3 years.
Good for them.
An interesting choice. And I understand, the conversation surrounding it.
Yeah. But even if it did look like the poop emoji, it's almost the kind of thing that people will go to get a photo with because,
so true.
Right?
The
like all the young
attraction
people would think it's so cool.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. It has the it factor, if you will.
Uh-huh. Oh, yes. Just it. Nothing else.
Nothing else.
No letters preceding that.
Did you see what she did there?
Yeah.
Local news anchors are so funny. That was probably the highlight of their day, was getting to talk about the poop emoji. I love it. She's like, well, it looks kind of like an unflattering emoji. Okay, I'll say it. The poop emoji. It's like, did you really have to say it? Did you really it's the official's intense enough? But the love poop. That's what I'm calling it.
The love poop.
You can't imagine that the artist did not see that pooping, right? Like there's just no way, right? No self-respecting human being could look at that and say, yes, this does not look like poop.
It's a lovely, fluffy little dollop of willow branches with windows in it.
Media Wench, don't get me wrong too. Anyone who knows the councilman knows I am the biggest defender of art and public art and artist rights and a champion of the arts. But that looks like poop.
It's poop. It looks like poop.
That looks like poop. Anyway, well, so from one another thing story to another, this is something for your information, media as we do on a regular basis. Vehicle versus structure seems to be a lot of this happening in the Bay Area these days, whether it's Tesla versus light pole or Mercedes versus jewelry store. So in this case, it's FedEx truck versus house.
Nice.
And there's video. So let's watch.
All right.
All right, now to a package delivery turned sideways for a Brentwood family when a delivery driver got a bit too close to their door, causing what they say is more than $100,000 in damages. And they say those responsible are refusing to pay the bill. Hilda Gutierrez is in the East Bay with that story.
They're going to get their money.
Camera captured video of a FedEx delivery driver backing up into a driveway in Brentwood. Oh no! Ryan Kavanaugh says his family wasn't home when the hit happened back in September, but says FedEx soon sent a third-party assessor to evaluate the damages.
Their first assessment was very exterior, we'll replace the paint that was chipped on the garage, we'll replace this one section of the gutter, and then we've counted 4 or 5 roof tiles.
For how much?
I believe the original assessment was right around $1,200.
Kavanaugh, who says he has worked construction for over 20 years, tells us he knew that amount seemed off, so he hired his own contractor to look beyond the exterior damage.
The original assessment that we had from the roofer was close to $80,000, and then once we got past the roof assessment and into the structural damage and the interior of the joists that were cracked and stuff, the last assessment we got was $113,000.
At that time, the homeowner says FedEx sent a second evaluator who came back with a $5,800 assessment. But Kavanaugh says the main damage is in the attic and the framing that connects to that part of the roof.
Yep.
As shown in these pictures he shared from his assessor.
But mostly what you've got trusses that go all the way back and connect to the original structure of the house that are cracked in multiple places along that structure.
Kavanaugh says FedEx is refusing to cover anything beyond $5,800 in damages. So he says he hired an attorney that sent FedEx a demand letter. Kavanaugh says he just wants his home to go back to how it was before the incident took place. Earlier this morning, we reached out to FedEx, but no one has responded to our request for comment.
I'm shocked.
Or questions about their policy when it comes to delivery drivers using private driveways during deliveries. In Brentwood, Hilda Gutierrez, NBC Bay Area News.
So it would appear that vehicle won this battle.
Oh, yeah.
But hopefully homeowner will win the war.
The thing is that trusses don't just crack like that on their own.
Yeah.
They don't.
Wear and tear.
And when you're in an area that is prone to earthquakes and there's a lot of regulations on making sure that your home and your property, any property in the area really, is structurally sound because of earthquakes, then fuck yeah, you gotta fix your shit. Sorry, FedEx, it's expensive. But you're a multi-fucking-billion-dollar company. Go fucking suck an egg.
Right. I don't know if it's 113,000, but it's definitely not 5,800. That's for sure.
No, definitely
not. Shit ton more than that. And I've had to deal with roofing issues and all sorts of manner of stuff in my house. And yeah, even the most minor things sometimes cost more than $5,800. So good on this guy. Hope he gets his money. And you don't want to fuck with the contractor. Do not run a car into a contractor's house because they have friends and they will get an assessment that will benefit them. We'll hopefully we might not see anything more about this story, but hopefully it leads to more people coming out of the woodwork and telling people about how FedEx ran into their house.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, that's the docket for this week. We made it to the end, and not too long over. I was trying to keep us, to a reasonable time frame.
Yeah.
I knew we'd have to chat a little bit because it's been so long.
Oh, I know. And then and I could hear Dave in my head. If you guys want to have a conversation, then you can actually meet in the real space and you can act.
Seriously, you have coffee or go for a burger. It's but no, I mean, we still have to do kind of Zoomy because you're based in the state of Jefferson, right? So got to keep it on the real world.
Am I currently? I don't know if I'm exactly in state of Jefferson. I'm in San Joaquin County, so I'm not
okay, so you're not.
County.
Okay, you're not. Okay, you're not quite there. Okay,
no,
you're doing okay.
I'm just
you're in
east
the banana
of Lodi.
though. Oh yeah, you're still in the banana, but not quite.
Yeah,
Jefferson.
I'm further down the banana.
I call it banana because it's bananas. Anyway, well, thank you for hosting and for pulling it together this week, and good luck with public comment and with IDT tomorrow night.
Of course. And if you want to go ahead and read us out, then I would appreciate it.
I will read us out. Hold on, let me get my reading materials. Okay. Thank thanks very much, Media Wench, for running the dials for us tonight. Thank you, listener, for tuning in on the podcast side of things and downloading the 9th best local news podcast in California, according to some dude on the internet. And thanks to all of our wonderful viewers and the chat. You make our lives worthwhile. Please keep sharing stories in the Discord feed. Please tune in next week to Downballot, 7:30 p.m. Pacific on Tuesday nights, except when we don't do it. You should definitely get vaxxed. You should absolutely wear a mask in public. And then if you want to wear pants, kind of optional at this point, right? The Bad Baby proved that. And we're going to leave. I think we're going to leave you with a little audible smoke. That's usually what our end of show reverie is. So enjoy that and enjoy public comment with the Media Wench and have a great evening.
Thank you, Councilman. Don't kill the geese and don't fucking hit your neighbor's house. Don't hit the house.
Don't hit the house. Don't hit the house. Let the geese poop.
Fuck the banks and the cop.
Peace.
Time to get the party started. Pick up my phone just to check and see who's calling. Dress up real nice for the ladies at the bar, and I'm driving in my car just to get to where they are. Here at the local scene is where I plant my feet. It's where I smoke my cigarette and I hold my drink. I look at all my friends, they're all blazing green. Here at the front of the stage, waiting for MTV. Where are those guys who's standing next to me with a pipe in his hand, ready to blaze for me? About 5 minutes later, we're all singing Queen. Let's get the fuck up on stage and rock the scene. Yeah, we do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. I turn and head back to the bar for a refill, man, because you know where we are. We're headed out to the car to smoke another one and another one. Now just when the magic starts kicking in, I hear relapse playing, you know it's time to head in. Alright everybody, now it's time to grab a new drink, spark it if you got it, and then pass it to me. Yeah, we do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. Last up on the bill for the show tonight is Down and Dirty at 5, so we're headed outside to spark up another joint. Now who's got my lighter? Stoner E, of course, shouldn't you be inside? I'm all up in this bitch, being who I gotta be. I'm fucked up like the U.S. economy. The truth is that I don't think logically. Stoner E take you on a psychedelic odyssey. Now inside motherfuckers is rockin' me, and outside shit we smoke a lot of broccoli. Rocky the roller, you're the sexy girl be jockin' me. Ain't too drunk to fuck, but I'll probably do it sloppily. We do what we want, what we wanna do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy the band. We do what we want, what we wanna do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Molly say that he like jamming, and he hope he like jamming too. Well, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yes, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Well, Bob Marley said that he like jamming, and he hope he like jamming too. Well, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yes, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yeah, we do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Yeah, we do what we want, and what we wanna do, what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. We do what we want, what we wanna do, what we want is to jam. So sit back and